So welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, welcome. If it isn't, then thanks for coming back. Today I want to show you a setting that I found quite a long time ago, but I thought I'd just do a video on it because people always wonder how you get the nice sharp edges on the cookie cutters. So as you can see here, I've brought in the design and it is on my standard 20mm setting. And if I go in and I slice the design to see how it's going to print out, you will notice that the top 4 lines in this design doesn't print. And you can actually see in the top right hand corner by my logo that it says 51 layers. Now there were 4 layers that were missing. So in the actual settings, if you go to your wall generator, you'll see there are 2 choices, classic and Arachne. And if you click on Arachne and then you slice again, you can see that the top 4 layers are now printing. So this is how I got my cutters to have such a nice sharp edge. See that it has 55 layers. If you go to the slider on the right hand side and it shows you layer by layer, you can see it has 55 layers, not 51 layer. So there again, if I take it to standard and I slice it, just for confirmation, you can see 51 layers. So that is why I have actually saved my settings and I have it saved under my cookie cutter 20mm. You can use the 16mm optimal. It actually doesn't make any difference when you're doing the cookie cutters. It just ends up having more layers, but there's no difference to the actual cookie cutter. It doesn't make any difference. So what I've done is I've saved it as a profile for my cookie cutters, and I know straight away it has already got the Arachne under the wall generator, and it will always print it with those few top layers. So here I'm just sending it to the machine. It does say 32 minutes that it's going to take, and so basically what I've done is just for interest's sake, I have left in some of the printing so that you can see how it goes along with the layers, and I've also done a front view with the camera so we can see how the machine is progressing as well. So here is a view of the actual machine itself, the printer itself. It's a Bambu Lab. It's the A1 that I have. I don't have an AMS. I only have single color because for me, I don't use the AMS. At the moment, I might decide to get the AMS at a later stage, but for now, I don't really do multicolor designs. So for me, AMS was not really necessary. Here we are on 40%, which is on layer 7. So it's gone a little way. And here you can see if we want to track where it is progressing from, we are on layer 7. So it's about just over a third of the way. And here is the front video showing also layer 7 of the 55. And here we are near the end. There's only a few minutes left. And you can see it's printing nicely, no problems, nothing's come off the bed. Thank goodness. Like I have said before, I haven't had anything lifting off the bed still, and I've had this machine for quite a while now, and I've never ever had a problem. So I do think that it was well worth the money and the wait for it once it arrived. And then here again, this is doing the last few layers, and there the machine is finished, and you can see how nice that cutter has come out. Even from this distance you can see how nice and sharp that blade is. I will take it off the bed now so that you can actually see a closer view of the actual cutter itself. You can actually see how nice and sharp that blade is. And it makes a huge difference when you're actually cutting out your clay or your dough for your cookie cutters. It's amazing how nice and sharp it is. Then here I am showing you how it will print out if I don't use the Arachne setting. So I'm just doing it on the normal 20mm standard without the Arachne. It's on classic, and you can see only 51 layers. It isn't going to be printing those last 4 layers. So for now I'm going to send it to the machine, and I'll just let it run a little bit, and we will be able to compare them once it's done. And while the machine is getting ready, just to show that it's only doing 51 and it's only 29 minutes as opposed to the 32 minutes that the other cutter took to print, which was obviously because of the extra layers that it needed to print because of the Arachne setting. So this one is going to go quicker. And here you can see it's done, it's on 100%. I'm just going to take it off the bed, which was still hot, so I had to actually remove the magnetic bed off the machine and just give it a slight bend just to take the cookie cutter off. Here you can definitely see the frame rate is really bad, but yeah, I just thought that I would show you. You probably can't see that well, but I thought I would just show cutter once it had been printed. So I thought I would do a visual comparison, because it's all fun and well telling people, look how nice and sharp the blade is, but you need to see the difference between a nice sharp blade and a duller blade. When I'm cutting out my polymer clay, it's so much quicker and easier if you have a nice sharp blade, that you don't have to clean up the actual earrings or key rings or whatever you're making once they've come out of the oven and they've been baked, because a lot of the time you end up with little bits all the way around that you have to sand off, and it actually takes up time that you don't really have. So the sharper the blade, the easier it is, because you don't have so much work to do once it's been cut out. So you can see that is the sharp blade, and you can also see how nicely it's cut all the way around. And then this is the one without the arachne setting. So this is the one that has 4 layers less than the sharp blade, and you'll be able to see, and I had no difference in how I pushed the actual cutter into the clay. I still wiggled it around to make sure that it had cut nicely to the actual surface. It came off very nicely, but once you take the excess clay away, you can see how beautifully the right hand side one, which is the sharper blade, how the excess has come away so beautifully. There's no excess bits sticking around the edges, whereas with the blade that was the 4 layers less, you can see there's so much left over, and if that was going straight into your oven, you would end up with all those bits stuck on your item when it was baked. So all those little bits would have to be sanded off and cleaned off, and that takes ages, whereas the one on the right hand side has nothing. So there might be a tiny little bit that you have to take off, but in comparison you can see the difference between the sharper blade and the duller blade. So there we have the two compared to each other. You can see the thickness in the right hand side one compared to the thickness on the left hand side, how nice and sharp the left hand side blade is. And there is the comparison between the two. You can see all the bits that are left. You can use a paintbrush, or you can try and scrape those little bits off, but it's time consuming, and most of us don't have the time to sit and do that. So there, I think, is an amazing comparison between the classic setting and the arachne setting. It makes a huge difference. So if anybody else is wondering why their cutters don't have nice sharp blades, that is what you need to do if you have a Bambu Lab studio program. That is what you do. It makes a big difference, and it has made an amazing difference to all my cutters. So I hope this was helpful to a lot of you, or if you just wanted to have a look and see how I make them, then thanks very much for watching, and again, until next time, have a great one.